Hi, I'm Xian Rai, your China Dream coach for entrepreneurs and executives. Welcome to Season 1 of the Your China Dream Virtual Summit. In this episode, we have Jan Smejkal, who ran the world's largest startup community, which he managed to grow 500% in just 2 years. He's one of the best connected people in the startup community in China, and it feels like he's just getting started. Expect big things from him, and watch this video to figure out how he managed to achieve so much in such a short period of time.
Hey guys, my name is Jan. I'm from Startup Grind. I've been in China for around 3.5 years now. And my number one tip for you achieving your China dream is you really need to be on the ground and you need to hustle. Just get ready for that, because building relationships in China, getting a Chinese partner, and achieving all of those things that you need to do if you want to succeed in China takes time, and you really need to be here, breathe the air, and meet people on the ground.
So, thanks for coming here.
Man, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and great to see you face to face.
Man, yeah, we were talking on the phone 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was a little bit more.
A little bit more? Oh my God, time flies, right?
Yeah, it does. I was back over in Vancouver.
Yes.
It's good to be here now with you.
Nice, yeah, I'm excited, man.
And you're in Shanghai, which is perfect.
I'm in Shanghai for a couple of weeks for now. We'll see what's gonna happen in the future. Like now I graduated, you know, so I'm kind of like, I can move around, which is kind of my second nature.
Yeah.
I don't like to stay at one place only. I like to move around, meet people, connect people, build the community that we are doing. And so I'm excited to be here. You know, Shanghai is one of those places. You know, if you want to do something with entrepreneurship, VC, or entrepreneurs community, international community, Shanghai is the place to be. You know.
Sure. So I just, for the people who are watching who might not know you or have heard of even Startup Grind, maybe,
yes, absolutely.
Can you do a bit of an introduction, self-introduction, who you are and how you relate to Startup Grind, what it is that you do here in China?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jan. I'm from Czech Republic. I moved to China around 3.5 years ago now. And so why I moved to China in the first place was because when I was at the university in Czech Republic, with my classmate, or with my friend actually, he was from other university, but with my friend we started a company. We started e-commerce company, very small company, bootstrap company. We never raised money. It wasn't a proper startup. It was just a business. And we basically started by getting phones from China and accessories from China, because we heard about this amazing brand Xiaomi, you know, that I think I read about the company in Forbes article that this is gonna be the next Steve Jobs, whatever, and I was like, wow, like, is it real? I wanna take it, I wanna order it myself, I wanna try it and see if it's gonna be that good, and if yes, we wanna bring it to Czech Republic, right? And so that's what we did, and it was kind of successful. Like, we didn't become like super rich doing that, because we were just basically reselling a product that wasn't even ours, you know, so we just had a little bit of margin, but we built pretty successful business for 2 guys. And then the thought of going to China was born, you know, because I was like, hey, I'm talking to Chinese suppliers every single day, and like, we're dealing with a Chinese brand that everybody wants to learn about, but I have no idea what China is like, and I have no idea what's going on in the market. I only knew, like, yeah, everybody was talking about pollution and everybody was talking about communism and all of these things in China in our media, right? So that was the only thing that I knew about China, you know, and I was like, no, this is wrong. I want to learn more because I'm doing business with them. I want to really understand like what's happening. And so then I decided to apply for an university program that was basically exchange, you know, because I was still a student at that point, and I was like, the easiest way to get to China is like, hey, I'm going to find a university, go for an exchange program for 6 months, and then I'm going to come back and continue run the business. But, you know, one thing led to another. I ended up, you know, changing from an exchange program to a full-time degree at Peking University. I ended up selling the 50% of the company to my co-founder. I ended up working for a couple of startups, doing some biz dev work, helping them fundraise in China, in Asia. And then I got an opportunity to work for Startup Grind because I volunteered for them for, I think, 8 months or 1 year. I went to San Francisco, I met the team, and we kind of clicked, and it was like, hey, I'm in China, I love what you do, why don't we work together? You know, and as I said, like, the rest is history, and I ended up starting the community director role with Startup Grind, and now it has been 2 years, and we have grown the community to around 30 cities in China, and 75 in Asia, and like, you know, the results are pretty good. And so I'm very happy that I'm here now, you know.
So could you tell us a little bit more about Startup Grind? You know, it's in these different cities. What does it do exactly?
Yeah, so Startup Grind is the largest entrepreneur community in the world. So we basically, the mission we have is that we want to connect and inspire and educate entrepreneurs all around the world. And we want to provide them with opportunities that they would not have otherwise. You know, meaning that you can come to our event, we can introduce you to two people and you might end up start a company, or you might raise money, or you might just meet you and do an interview and it's going to help your company, right? So we're just that kind of community that tries to help entrepreneurs as much as we can. We do it through events, we do it through conferences, we do it through startup program, mentorship, meeting with investors. We also have a huge Medium channel. So we give startups exposure if they can write very good content. We give them exposure through social media and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a machine to help entrepreneurs, you know. And in China we have around 25 cities that are very active now, and around Asia we have around 75, and I'm basically responsible for the community, and basically I'm the face of the company in Asia because there is nobody else full-time doing this.
Okay. And so you mentioned earlier a bit about assumptions that you might have had before coming to China, whether it's communism or these kinds of pollution.
Yes.
And I'd be interested to know, since you've been here, how have those assumptions been challenged? What have you learned? What has changed about your idea of what China's actually like?
It's a good question, man. And I get this all the time, you know, sometimes because, you know, people know me as your China guy, you know, because we can talk about it later how this came to be, but, you know, people know me as a person that talks about China all the time, you know, but, you know, I always say, I'm not here to promote China as the best country and the best market for everybody, right? Like, there is always pros and cons. It doesn't matter if you're in Africa, it doesn't matter if you're in Czech Republic, or it doesn't matter if you're in the US, there's always pros and cons. But what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to show people what we are doing and how, you know, entrepreneurs behave, or how they build companies in China. And, you know, it blew my mind. Like, honestly, like, I moved to Shenzhen. I never heard about Shenzhen before moving to China. You know, like, I only heard about Shanghai and Beijing and maybe Guangzhou because of the, you know, because of the fair, right? The Canton Fair. But I never knew about Shenzhen. And then I go to Shenzhen, and I first moved to Shenzhen, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, there is maybe 15, 20 million people, skyscrapers. You know, it's extremely developed city. It's much more developed than Prague or than Czech Republic, and like even cities in the US, you know, when you look at the infrastructure, you know, electric buses, electric cars everywhere, and skyscrapers everywhere. So I was blown away, you know, and plus you see that it's a good place to live because the pollution is basically not there. It's very similar to Hong Kong. Of course, from time to time you can have pollution, like, I'm not gonna say no, but like most of the time you have blue sky and you can go for a run without mask and without worrying about yourself. I was like, this is not the China that I had in my mind as a picture before going here, because, like, as I said, in the media you only hear things that like gonna make people share stuff and like talk about stuff, right? And like you know, so that was interesting, you know, and going back to your question, like how it shifted, like for me, I have that kind of, and like I like that kind of angle that like I always want to learn, right? Like, I don't want to judge, or I don't want to, you know, I don't want to like be negative about stuff. I want to learn. I always want to get the most out of every opportunity that I get. And for me, China is extremely huge opportunity. You know, I want to learn about the culture. I want to learn about the language. I want to learn about how business is done. Is it through government? Maybe yes, most of the time. I want to understand why, and I want to understand how I can use that to build a business, you know? And I want to understand many different things that are so unique for this country and for the region, you know? As you know, Asia, in many aspects, they're similar, but of course they're so different at the same time. So, you know, to me, it's not about judging, it's more about opening myself up to the opportunities that China offers. And I want to understand how we can leverage it. I'm very practical, you know, in this sense. So it opened my mind, and you know, I just think that there's so many things we can learn from China. China can learn from us as well, for sure. They have many problems they have to solve, but we can learn, you know, about building huge companies and scaling companies and stuff like that from them too.
So having been in China now for a few years, I'm sure there are lots of difficulties, obstacles that you faced. I'm wondering if you could share some of those and how you overcame them.
Oh yeah, man, there is so many. And it's kind of like connected to what I said, like I like to open myself up to opportunities and I like challenges, like I'm driven by challenges. As before we started, I told you that like I like crazy days and I like challenging days because then I feel like I'm solving problems and I can move faster, and like my brain works like that. If the day is like slow and this, like I feel like I don't have enough energy, like I'm a very high energy person. So I like challenges, and China is one big challenge, especially for us foreigners, right? Like you have been there, you're there probably even now, after living here, and like you said, your wife is Chinese, right? So like you probably are much closer, much deeper in than I am, but like that it's still challenging, and definitely like the culture, the fact that people just build relationships in a different way. And I will tell you like one really fun example, right? Like I was talking to my friend yesterday, and I'm trying to expand startup brand in China, right? And how it works outside of China is that, like, for example, today I was just like on Facebook and I asked my friends, hey, do you know anybody in Philippines that I should connect with because I want to learn about the innovation landscape and startup ecosystem in Philippines? And like in 5 minutes, I have like 5 people commenting and tagging people and like, hey, you should talk to this person and that person and like they're gonna help you and this. And I'm like blown away and I'm like, this is amazing. In China, forget about it. Like I tried before the same strategy in China because I have a lot of friends in different organizations and stuff, and I basically like, I first like tried to build a relationship with them and like help them with their problems, with their events, and then I asked them like, hey, do you know anybody in Chongqing, or do you know anybody here and there? And like it's so hard to get recommendation on people from people that you are not like extremely very good friend with. And of course, that's the Guangxi thing, right? And culture, and like that they're very protective of their circles, probably. And so it's very different, how you can expand your network, how you can expand, the company, or the for us, it's just we need to have people that are passionate about entrepreneurship, and usually you find them through recommendations. But in China, it doesn't work like that. You really need to try much harder to get people, recommend people, and to kind of find the right people in your circles. And so that's one challenge, right? That there is no Facebook, there is no Google, there is no these platforms that are known for like helping you connect with people very easily. Yes, they have Weibo and they have WeChat, but it works differently. On WeChat, it's a very closed platform. So even if you post, only your friends can see it, and like even they cannot tag anybody who is out of your network. So it works so much differently, right? So it's much more about you need to be on the ground, you need to go out there, you need to speak at events, you need to connect with people face to face to really build your network, because you cannot do it so much just on social media, So that's one difference, for example, and one challenge for our company, I would say, or for me personally, because that's how I do, the networking and the business that we're in. Of course, language, right? Like I study Chinese. My Chinese is still pretty bad, I would say. I try, like I really try to dedicate some time to it, and I can get around. Like my Chinese is good enough to get around and like take care of myself. But to do business in Chinese, I'm still not there yet. And so that's also one of the things, right? Because yes, when you talk to people that are internationally minded, that's okay because they speak English. But if you want to do business in China with government, or if you want to do business in China with big companies, forget about English. Like people don't speak English, or they're not comfortable with speaking English. And if you don't speak Chinese, or don't have a person on your team who speaks Chinese, then you will not move very fast. So that's another thing. Another challenge is, everybody will tell you that if you want to do business in China, you need a partner. And I agree with that, but you need to have a right partner. It's not about just having a partner, but you need to have the right partner, and you basically need to have a friend partner. Because I've seen so many companies going to China, coming to China, and trying to just move super fast, find one partner that will give them money or that will give them support. But they failed eventually because they didn't do enough due diligence. They didn't really know that person or that company. And sometimes, in China, and you probably can second then, or you can tell me if it's true, it's really like, it's very transactional. And so people sometimes do things because they have certain KPI and they just want to hit it, and they don't really care about you if they're going to provide enough value to you, if you can succeed. They just care about their success, especially when you talk about, different like government innovation parks and stuff. They just want to get startups in, they're just always like, they reach out to me and they are like, hey Jan, can you help me, like introduce me to a couple of startups and do this and that? And like, I'm like, okay, so how can we work together long term? And they're like, no, we need it now, and like this, and like, like, I'm not saying that they're bad people, but like, it's just like a red flag to me that if somebody doesn't want to invest time and money, a little bit of money in getting to know each other first, then like, if I just do something, recommend some people, like what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my brand if it's not going to work out, right? So there are just certain things that work differently in China, and you need to be aware of those things. And it's everyday challenge, man, because you can try to understand as much as you can, but you will never fully understand.